So here we are again, folks. When we come on this channel here, we try to do something that doesn't usually happen. We try to bring together concepts of religion and spirituality into the setting of the real world. So sometimes when we're talking, it seems to touch on politics, when actually you see that politics is not separate from what happens in the real world, and it's not separate from spirituality. Spirituality involves all of these things, and when one's talking about spirituality, one is talking about something that is overarching. You can't be spiritual and be a politician who lies all the time, just like you can't be a religious person and a politician who lies all the time. If you're a really dedicated religious person or a very spiritual person who is alive and awake, you can't be a liar. You just can't be a politician if you can't tell the truth and do the truth. And that's what we are talking about in many of our videos and on this channel, the fact that you can't just throw out religion or separate religion and spirituality whenever you want to. You're either in or you're out. Our problem today is that so many people have become Christians by just saying that they believe that Jesus died for their sin and rose 3 days later, and they believe that they are saved and born again, and they have this new spirit washed in the blood of Jesus, and many of them are twice the sons of hell as they began. Because you see, once they get that fire insurance, and they get the pride and arrogance from having become one of the chosen few, they get worse and worse, and they make more and more excuses of doing things that are quite cruel and hateful. Most of these people nowadays who are trying to take away child care, trying to stop people from having access to higher education, trying to end the lives for many of people by forcing them to go to fight wars that have nothing to do with them, wars that have been orchestrated by another country like ours, so that we can get an advantage in the world and can be leaders of the whole world, emperors, so to speak. Most of these people fall back on some philosophy or some religion that tells them that they're chosen and they're doing all of these hateful deeds in the name of a god. And if you go from one nation to the next, you can pick the god that they will use in order to justify their actions. And on the other side, we have people who use science to justify their actions. They believe science religiously, you see. They say everything that the religions say, except they erase this concept of a deity or a god. And they think that they're better off because they're saying that science makes it necessary to do what they want instead of a deity. They say they're not superstitious. But you know, nowadays we're finding that many of these findings that we've learned all of our lives and we listened to and we went around telling people about and we criticized people who didn't believe them, we're finding that they're just not true. And the pushing for those beliefs came from powerful people with a lot of money and influence. Nowadays, they are even talking about Pluto, which I learned a long time ago was the ninth planet. Now, it's not a planet anymore. First, they said it wasn't a planet, and then they started arguing over it. And then, since it had an atmosphere, a heated core, and all of that, they said, oh, well, it's a dwarf planet. Why is it a dwarf planet? They couldn't admit that, well, it is a planet. They're just small. They had to say it's a dwarf planet because they had announced that it wasn't a planet, and they couldn't go back, you see. Many things like this happen Challenges are going out to the age of the universe now that this new James Webb telescope is looking into the far regions and finding that things aren't the way that they predicted out there. But people keep clumping on to every new discovery as if it's 100% certain, which is faith. One must understand that it is not 100% certain and that this is just a guess, and one should not be able to punish people who don't go along with a fact that is not 100% certain. And so we have all of these people working, trying to tell us how the universe is and what it is in order to provide this comfort for us. And I think the problem is that we've learned to need just a little bit too much comfort in this country. Think of all of the damaging things that are occurring in this country just because we want to feel comfortable. Think about it in your own life. How many times have you been shut down? How many times have you been forced to hold your tongue during conversations? How many times have you had to even dress a certain way, look a certain way, walk a certain way, just so someone else would be comfortable, or so you would be comfortable? You see, because this idea, this necessity for comfort, it's everywhere in the system. We learn to look for it and desire it, and when we become uncomfortable, some of us want to get rid of that discomfort as fast as possible, you know? If we get depressed, we want to take a pill, get rid of it. If we have an ache, we run and we grab the aspirin. We grab the painkillers instead of looking at what's causing the pain because we want to get rid of it as fast as possible. Mental difficulties now, psychotropic drugs, they are prescribing drugs like crazy for psychological conditions to get rid of the discomfort as fast as possible. And then they say, well, maybe we'll work on the root cause, but we need to get rid of the pain right now. And everyone agrees with that. And people agree with it because comfort is a sign of civilization, and comfort is a sign of what we consider peace, power, rest, and well being in the world. But who's saying that comfort has anything to do with that? There was an old quote by Karl Marx where he said that religion is the opiate of the masses and the sigh of the oppressed. The opiate of the masses. In the old days, of course, opium was used for medicine. It was a painkiller, yes. But if one used too much of it, or if one didn't really have a pain and used it, it got one high. It made one not feel anymore, not feel any pain, just an artificial form of bliss that they got addicted to. As for the oppressed, the ones who were suffering and in pain and who needed it, the opium gave them a time to sigh and relax so they could get it together. And I am saying that this idea about comfort that we have in our society is somewhat like a religious idea. We think that we have to have it, and it had to become the opium of the masses. We've never let it become the sigh of the oppressed, though. We never looked at it and saw that, yes, we need to be comfortable sometimes, but we have to use that time to get it together so we can move on. Because you see, the only thing that promotes growth usually is discomfort. What promotes growth is the need for all of us to change, the need for all of us to grow. We have to have the need, or we're not going to do it. Now, there are several ways to have this need. One way is by external circumstances, horrible things that happen that make us have to change our course. We might get sick. We might get ill. Many things might happen to make us change our lifestyles. But that comes from discomfort. And there's another type of discomfort that comes from the awakened individual, the woke people, basically. And that type of discomfort is discomfort that is created on purpose in order to shake up the system or the person in order to create change. We can see this on the personal level when you see people doing like Tai Chi or Qigong, or even people jogging and running, lifting weights. They are creating discomfort so that their system changes and then it grows. And the same is true of social activism. But guess what? If you have a system that is too set on comfort, none of it works. None of it changes. So if you have a person who wants to get in shape and they want to run, and something in the back of their head is so lazy they keep refusing to do it, they stop themselves from going through the discomfort in order to grow. And it's the same with learning new things, seeing new things, dealing with different opinions that shakes one up that one has to come to terms with. It is the discomfort, whether coming through nature or created by oneself, that makes one grow, that makes one a better person if one uses that discomfort in a logical and intelligent way. If one doesn't, and one's life consists of just trying to avoid this discomfort, what happens is that we still grow. Except the way that we grow is a warped and twisted way. We grow worse. Our condition worsens. And we can see this right now in our country, in the United States, coming out of that pandemic. People are blaming inflation on all of the printing of money during the pandemic, ignoring the fact that the price of oil has gone crazy and that we are being scalped by people who are raising the prices just to make more profit. It has nothing to do whatsoever with that money that was being printed, because that money being printed is in the hands of a very small percentage of people who are clinging to it right now and driving up prices right now because they have nothing to lose. So let us not pretend that printing money to relieve pain and suffering has caused this inflation. What has caused it is bad management and greed, and still sending billions of dollars, 61 billion so far, to Ukraine to buy weapons, and putting sanctions against Russia and more than 80 countries to stop them from being able to produce what is necessary for the life and liberty of their people. And this includes the new sanctions on China. Our administration and the attitudes of the people are causing this inflation by causing economies all over the world to struggle and to crash. This thing called truth can be the most uncomfortable thing in the world, you see. Here we try to challenge people with the truth, challenge people with new thoughts and ideas. We don't ask that you agree with it, but that you're willing to look at it and argue with it and maybe even go and research it. That's it. And you know what? Whether you agree with it or not, it promotes growth. Because if you disagree with it and make arguments against it and you go and research it, you grow. You become healthy. You know the truth. And as the old biblical statement says, the truth shall set you free. The question is, how free do we want to be? Do we want to just close our eyes and move around like little robots or cogs in a machine until we get worn out and we don't work anymore and we're cast aside into the junkyard, into the rubbish heap? Or do we want to be free agents? Do we want to be the creative beings that we came into this universe for, into these bodies for, so that we can begin to do the work that heals not only our communities but this world and this country? That is our calling. Our calling, you see, is to come into this world, gather the gifts and the skills and the talents that are needed to help fix this world and to help other people who have been deceived, who have been manipulated, who have been conditioned from a very early age. We want to help them to see who they are, what they are, and to reclaim their divinity. We want to help them break this false human form that we have been given through our society, church, state, the media, even close friends telling us who we are, what our limitations are, how we need to prove that we have worth. We need to break that form and move from a state of performing and doing to being what we were meant to be. Earth, Wind, and Fire said it well when they were talking about us bringing the love that heals the world. Have you ever seen a mother, how tenderly she treats her child and the birds up in the treetops, how they protect their young from the wild? Yes, your love, it comforts me, and it's my security. You brought the love. Your love is life. We are vessels. We are the bringers of love. Many of our deliverance systems have been twisted and warped because of a system ruled by twisted, warped people who catch us at a very early age and twist and warp and distort our ideas of reality. Even so, we come to a point where it is time to break free. We hear a message, we see a word, we hear a song. All of these things provide us an opportunity to be awake, to wake up, to break out of that chrysalis, to break out of that cocoon, and to spread our wings and fly. Is there any wonder why Psyche is represented as a butterfly? Let's let our psyches free by daring to challenge ourselves, daring to challenge the old thoughts and ideas and traditions we've had, and daring to find the truth that sets us all free. And so if you like what you're hearing, please be sure to subscribe to us, hit the bell, and give us a thumbs up. And you can learn more about what we're doing at our website. You can find all of that information in the description below. Thanks for being with us, and we'll be back again very, very soon, dropping a new video. May you know love, peace, joy, and contentment, and most of all, may you realize that you are as beautiful as your thoughts. Thanks again.